speak it though, I speak it though. What's on your mind? What's on your mind is deep though. I speak it though. We on the air, we on the air. Just take it there, I'ma take it there. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Yeah, I'm talking about it, but I'm real about it. I speak on it, but don't catch films about it. We can chop it up like it's nothing, baby.
What's going on, everyone? We are back here live here in the OT Radio Show. And let me tell you, today is going to be one of those days, y'all, that is going to be a great show. And when we talk about American history and our African American history, you have to talk about this man. He's a father, he's an educator, he's a community advocate, he's a local businessman. He is the founder and CEO of Roots 101 African American Museum that is dedicated to tell us our story through the journeys from Africa and to all the ports in between. But let me tell you about this right here. His museum been featured in a lot of articles, y'all. A lot of articles. PBS, New York Times, Wealthy.com, Today's Women, Agriculture Digest, as the top 20 museums in 2020. So please, y'all, I need y'all to welcome Mr. Lamont Collins here on the show, because I'm telling y'all, the show right here is something serious. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm blessed and highly favored, and thank you for inviting me on the show. I mean, I really appreciate telling our history and story, and so appreciative of young brothers knowing the importance of telling our story to everyone that wants to listen, and especially those that don't want to listen to the story of the African American journey.
Oh man, listen, like I said, this is an honor for me, because when we talk about our African American history, we have to talk about what we've been through and what we need to do, right? And to have you here with me, the founder and the CEO of Route 101 African American Museum, dude, I'm just I'm just speechless, right? Honestly, I'm not going to front. I am speechless, because when we have things like this, our story is not really told a lot. And I had understand now through life and through my dad and what he used to always say is that if you want to learn something, either the museum or the library will give you all the information you need. And this is what's needed today. So I know I caught you and you and the wife eating, but I'm glad that you are having this conversation with me real fast. So let's talk about it a little bit. How did this vision come about you opening up this museum?
Well, I've been collecting all my life. Majority of everything in the museum is my personal collection. And, when I was a young man and looked in the mirror, I knew it's something greater that Black people have contributed to this country. And I knew that as a young man. My dad was a first. When I say he's a first, he did a lot of things before a lot of Black men were doing it in Louisville. And he always said that, first of all, the Black men could live anywhere in Louisville. So when we were kids, he was a professional drag racer, and we would go to the drag strip, be the only Black kids at the drag strip. And he would always get in the car every Friday and drive to all white neighborhoods and say, we're going to live in these neighborhoods. So he moved us in the neighborhood about 1969. And first thing I said to my parents is they dropped me behind enemy lines. And they said, what do you mean? I said, you guys dropped us, me and my brothers and sisters. You dropped us behind enemy lines in this neighborhood and you go to work every day. But the coolest thing about it, it defined who I was, because what happened is I was always the greatest athlete around. So white kids would knock on the door and ask me to go play ball with them. And I started telling our story then when I was 10 and 11. So if the kid said something like Sandy Koufax was the best pitcher in the world, I would say, no, uh, Bob Gibson is. He's so fast, they lowered the man when he was pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals. And if they say best basketball player, the best basketball player was John Havlicek. I said, no, Wilt Chamberlain. He scored 100 points, averaged 40, 50 rebounds a season. He was a Black man. I'm telling all this to kids in 1969. Or they said the best football player was Paul Hornung, who was from Louisville, Kentucky, played for the Green Bay Packers. I go, no, Jim Brown. Jim Brown, every time he touched the ball, he went 5 yards before they could ever tackle him. And he was a lacrosse All-American. Nobody's greater than Jim Brown. So what happened, the white kids would go home, come back the next day, say, Lamont, you know what? My dad said Wilt Chamberlain, Jim Brown, all these guys were cool guys. I said, that's what I already told you. So I was telling our story at a very young age because I know how important it was to tell our black story to everyone that would listen. And I've been doing that ever since.
Wow, man. Wow. And now this museum in Kentucky, out of all places in Kentucky, how did that come about?
Well, I think as black people, we wait for people to tell us we can do something, or we wait till we have the financing in place to do something. But the tradition of black people is finance, faith over finance, and I took faith over financing. I knew that God had given me the vision to do it. I knew I had the courage to do it, and I've always done everything I thought I could do and everything God's blessed me to do. So I wanted to start a museum. Wasn't wait for somebody to give permission, and I started a museum.
Mm, So let's talk about that museum because the museum talks about the journey, Africa to our journey
Mhm.
from Africa to now to all the ports and now today, right? And when you talk about this journey, you go through what I call a reality check that a lot of people don't get.
Yes.
And this reality check is breathtaking. I know right now that you are like buzzing over TikTok and Twitter and everything else over that reality check that you gave to a young man. And it was phenomenal, man. It's definitely phenomenal. So let's talk about that just a tad bit uh, about that reality because a lot of times we need that kind of reality to be set for us to just definitely listen to. So let's talk about that a little bit of that journey.
Well, what I start with in the museum, the first thing I say, Roots 101. The reason I call it Roots 101, because in higher education, the first class you take is a 101. So this is an educational journey from Africa to America. And I started in Africa because too many people think we had no history in Africa. And we had much history in Africa. Matter of fact, we were the bulldozers for bulldozers, jackhammers for jackhammers, and engineers for engineering degrees, which means what? We built this place. So what I tell
Mhm.
everybody, we're descendants of kings and queens. That's a game changer. So I talk about the history of Africa because we have to always remember we're connected to Africa, and we should never lose that connection to Africa because that traditionally is who we are as Black people in this country.
Wow. But it is actually true. It is actually true because when you listen to history, it says slaves, right? It don't never goes to kings, queens, merchants. You know what I mean? It don't never go there,
Right,
right? And a lot of times we miss that. If you're not reading the history or you're not knowing, you miss it.
right.
Now, when you talk about that journey, and then you talk about welcome to America,
Mm.
when you put those chains on that young man and the weight to it, I'm going to tell you something. And I know that would have broke me down in tears.
It breaks a lot of people in tears, and the what I love about it, it shows you even 400 years later how we still connected to that journey and how we can't allow people to disconnect us to that journey because whoever put those shackles on, I'm telling you, for 3 minutes they're silent. It's as if the ancestors had grabbed us to let us know the strength in which we came through it. And that's what people don't talk about. We always hear about the weakness, but it was the strength that got us through it. Never the weakness. It's the strength that we were based on, the strength that we were grown on, and the strength that's instilled in us. And that's what I do at the museum. It's about the strength. It's about the journey that we took and how we took that journey and how we're so much better having it inside of us because our story is not put inside of us. The Jewish community tell their kids at 3 years old, 4 years old, they tell their kids they're survivors. Our kids have never heard that they're survivors and still surviving in 2023 of the injustice of this country. So the museum is about that. It's about the strength, never the weakness. And when you come to that museum, that's why you leave different. So when I put those shackles on anyone, black, white, the inhumanity of those chains, it hits everyone. And the problem is in the black community, not problem, but the reality is it hit us greater than anybody else in this world because it was us that was in chains. And it's us that's still dealing with the same injustices that happened in the 1800s.
Mm, mm, mm. Because when you talk about the injustice, a lot of people still don't understand that it is still today.
Yeah,
Everybody think changes have came, but the change haven't really came. It have not really came
that's
yet.
right.
And a lot of people are still confused about when you hear people talk, they be like, that happened back to the 1800s. Well, the 1800s is still going on in the 2000s.
That's right. Yeah,
And and if you don't understand that, then I don't know what to tell you
yeah,
because you need to do your research.
yeah. I mean, when we just talk about, what I always say is I teach the future so we don't repeat the past.
Yes.
So if I teach the future so we don't repeat the past, we can go to Reconstruction and everything white America stopped us from doing from the right of voting is still the same things we deal with today. Every time there's an election is the fear of black people voting. The election of Barack Obama showed us that white America hated the idea of black people running this country. They gave you Donald Trump after Barack Obama. How could that happen?
Mm, mm. Wow. Dude, I'll tell you one thing. You just blew my mind with that one, which is true. Which
Yeah,
is true. Which is definitely true. Which is definitely true about that. Wow. So
I'm moving around, so don't.
oh yeah. Listen. I understand. I definitely understand. I definitely appreciate this right here. Because I know you're actually moving around to get settled. So I know a lot of times, right? A lot of times we talk about June Juneteenth is coming up, right? And a lot of people get a little attitude with OT about Juneteenth because I said they gave us Juneteenth and they took away all the stuff in the history books. So
Mm.
they gave us something and then they took it away. And a lot of people don't really understand. So can you break down what Juneteenth really
Well,
is?
what I say about Juneteenth is it's about liberation and not celebration. We want to celebrate because we've told for years that during Fourth of July was our holiday, and we talk about the crack on the bell, the Liberty Bell, but we don't talk about the crack in the foundation of America, which did not include black people. So when we talk about Juneteenth, that was given to us as some kind of a uh, uh, I guess, some kind of reconciliation of what they've done to black people. What did they give us? They gave us a day, but we still don't have liberation. See, Juneteenth is about liberation, black people with the freedom for education, the opportunity for economic power. It was about changing the fabric of black people to be equal to or greater than white America. So when we talk about reparations or we talk about equality in this country, it has to start with the meaning of Juneteenth. Because in Juneteenth, when we were all free, then we all have an opportunity for liberations. And that's why we have to understand it's about liberation and not celebration. We can't allow kids, young people to say, I got champagne, I got a drink, and everything's cool. No, economically, we're still in the same thing we were in back during Reconstruction. So what I say about Juneteenth is that we were free to do what?
Free to breathe, free
Free.
to
That's right. Free to
free to
breathe.
breathe.
We were
Yeah.
right because when the soldiers came 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and came to Texas, and they told the slaves they were free. Free to do what? We didn't own the land. We didn't own the streets. We didn't own the businesses. We didn't own the farms. So what did America free us to do?
Mm. Mhm.
So if we're going to celebrate Juneteenth, we have to celebrate it from a liberation standpoint of what we're going to do as black people to the promises America made us a long time ago. So Juneteenth needs to be about, and I keep stressing this, not about celebration, but about black people putting sources together, putting collectively doing things and moving forward together. And then that's why Juneteenth means something. Right now, it's a holiday, a
paid holiday, but it's not addressing the inequities in our country. It's not addressing the educational strife we still have in our country. It's not addressing anything systematically that we're still dealing with in 2023. So why buy into the hype? Because it's
Mhm.
only hype because it came with no substance. Now, if Juneteenth came with a substance, I'm all over it.
Right.
But historically, what substance do we get other than they telling us we were free in 1865 and free to do what? That's the
Mm.
only question I ask black people. Free to do what? And then when
Yeah.
I see young people, I ask young people, I say, have you ever been in the South at night and how dark it is? You can't see the front of your hand.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Alabama, Mississippi, anywhere at nighttime
Yes.
in the fields? You can't see nothing.
Sure
So
can.
think about those black people that were free in 1865, freed on land that wasn't theirs, free in an area that wasn't there, and they just were free,
Mm.
free to
Mm.
breathe.
Mm.
And we still deal with it. What did America do? Okay, they gave us reparations, not reparations, but they gave us can't think of what I'm about to think of. We're just Juneteenth, but what do we get with it? And what are we
Nothing.
demanding with it? And
Nothing.
that's why I have Roots 101. I want to challenge people to think. I've wrestled with museums every day. I come on the scene 3 years ago, get national attention, but not national dollars.
Mm.
The city calls me a treasure, but hadn't given me $1 of a treasure chest. So I'm still fighting this in a museum that's being nationally recognized, and in my own city, I am not I'm not on the budget line or the budget proposal. In 3 years, I have not been on one proposal, but yet I'm changing the life of kids every day, black and white kids. Okay.
Mm.
But I'm not a line item in every museum that's been telling a story for 400 years. The wrong story for 400 years is getting millions of dollars.
Mm.
Think about that. So
Mm.
that's why it's so important for me to do what I'm doing. And it's so important for young people. I always say that the greatest king plants shade trees no one had never set up under.
Mm.
And that's an African proverb. So I'm planting shade trees, knowing in my lifetime I won't sit up under, but the shade's there for our children to sit up under. That's why it's so important for people to support what I'm doing, and other museums that are calling me in 3 years are calling me and say, Mr. Lamont, what can we do to duplicate what you do? Man, that's an
Mm.
honor.
Yeah.
That's an honor and a blessing. And like you're right, I am blowing up on the web right now at over 300. I've gone viral, and that's a beautiful thing because if I go viral, now I can get black people to send me $1 that can now go into millions of dollars. So now I can buy the block. I'm in the process of buying the block now. And I have 11,000 square feet, trying to get the whole block, go over 30,000 square feet. Man, you think I can't tell a story with 30,000 square feet? And
Woo.
in downtown Louisville, beside the
Mm.
river that once was called the River Jordan. That's when black people escaped to freedom. They call it the River Jordan. I'm sitting beside the River Jordan. Now, what if I can buy a block to tell our story?
Mm. 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 Man,
So
I
that's
tell you
why,
what.
like you said, your father came to the museum, and you got to remember, I've never had a budget over 200,000. I've collected everything through hook, crook, or whatever to make
Hmm.
this work. We did get a grant from the Ford Foundation of 100,000, biggest grant we ever got. But other than that, it's been every day trusting God in the process. But what if my story got out there? And just like Barack Obama made billions of dollars on his campaign by people giving $2 and $3 and $4, what could we do for this country, and what kind of model can we show black people all over the country how we can tell our narrative 365 days? And like I said, I talk to major museums, and the sad thing about this is that people talk about equity now, right? That's a big word, equity.
Yeah.
Well, equity in museums is just corporations giving white museums to tell our story on 28 days in February, or making a room and telling a story for 3 months or 4 months while they're getting dollars. That's not equity. That's white people controlling our story and still controlling our story for 400 years. And the sad thing is people that look like us go to those museums, support those museums. They're only putting a spotlight on our history and not the light on our history. So they put a spotlight in the corner here, a spotlight corner here, because it never can get too dark. If it get too dark, it never open up again.
Yeah.
See,
Mm.
only blackness and only story can be told is in Roots 101 and stories like what I'm telling, because I
Hmm.
tell the truth. See, now,
Yeah.
if you start telling the truth, and see, it's about making the comfortable uncomfortable so we all can be comfortable.
Yes. Yes.
See, and a lot of people don't want to do that. But until we get everybody uncomfortable, can we all become comfortable? And you got to have the courage to do that. And that's what I do at Roots. And when you come out of there, you feel better because now you understand the strength it took to go through it, but the strength it takes to continue to go past it.
Man, dude, powerful, powerful, powerful. I want to tell you something, right? So I did a survey, right?
Hmm.
And with about 10 black men, right? So I said, all right, y'all, you know, saying some people came up in here and they said, all right, y'all have a choice to save your family or save your people. Which one are you going to do? And I'm going to tell you, 100% of them said family.
Yes.
And I said, you know what? That is the problem that we are having
Yes.
right there, that mindset. So one of the guys, John Carr, right? He was like, dude, when I thought about it, we all are family. And for order for us to succeed, we need each other.
Right.
So this is the mindset that they are planting in us, knowing that if we ever come together, it will be something special.
Oh, it's no doubt. See, I remember one time I went to the Million Man March when they had it, and I went through just an unbelievable feeling. What happened is we get there, and I'm on a bus with a lot of brothers. You know how the movie Get on the Bus, all different personalities, who's on, what they on there for. But when I went there, here's what happened. We went to the subway and DC, got off the bus and got on the subway, went downtown, and I kid you not, when we stepped off of that subway, the earth shook. And there's an African proverb that says, when 100 men shake, the world trembles. And let me tell you, that particular day, when them brothers were focused on doing the right thing, Washington, D.C. shook. I felt it when I walked from the subway to the streets. Black, white people were backing up, looking at the power of black people working together. Man, nobody cussed. Nobody was running the strip clubs. It was the most phenomenal day of my life watching brothers come together. I mean, the actual, just like the proverb, the actual city shook, and I
Yes, sir.
felt it in my lifetime. So when I saw that and was part of that, I was hooked. When I came
Hmm.
back, I said, hey, it's about, young people talk about branding. It's not about branding, it's about collectively working together. And
Hmm.
that's what happened when black people rose in this country, is when we collectively worked. Not that we didn't disagree, but we worked together for the common goal of our people. And when you talk about, what I save my family or sell my people, it's because we don't think of our family as our people.
Mm.
See,
Hmm.
that's the problem. And,
Yep.
every kinfolk ain't every skin folk ain't kinfolk, or every,
Yeah.
whatever that is. That's true in our community. They
Yep.
divided us up so much we don't realize, and disconnected us from Africa so much that we don't understand everybody of our color, everybody of our hue are our brothers,
Yes.
and we can't turn our back on our brothers. And
Yep.
collectively, if you remember, the white population is going down, people
Hmm.
of color population is going up.
Yes.
So guess what? If we collectively stick together, what power would we have? But see, what power would we have if we ever come to the understanding of us and how important we are? If we talk about the history of the world, well, before we put race into it, right?
Hmm.
Because race is something white America put in a race ladder and put themselves at the top, because the original first person was a black woman.
Yes.
They know that fact. So if everybody came from black people, wow. Now maybe
Whew.
the sun and geography changed the complexion, but we all came from a people before we ever had a race. And when we
Hmm.
had the race, it was something that white America, or not white America, but uh, the emergence of whiteness decided that they're going to put whiteness at the top and everybody down on the ladder. And the
Hmm.
last person on the ladder were people looking like me and you, right?
Yep.
So if we just collectively work together and not brand separately from each other, we got something. But we
Uh,
just keep branding instead of growing. Instead of, I always say that when I was in a mentoring program, I helped start one in Louisville, Kentucky, called 100 Black Men program and all that. We taught kids how to tie ties, right?
hmm.
And I said one day, we don't need to tell them how to tie ties. We didn't make ties with them young brothers, so we tied together for the rest of our life.
Woo! Preach. Preach on that one. Preach
See,
on that one.
that's what we do. We're so busy putting ties on kids instead of making ties with kids, and that's
Mm,
why our generation now is so disenchanted or so whatever because nobody has taken time to make ties with them. And when I was growing up, that's what Big Mama and them did. That's what Big Daddy and them did. They made ties with every kid on the block. Good
mm-hmm.
kids, bad kids,
Yeah.
kids on the way to jail. They made love and ties with them. And I got a room. You said your dad came to the museum and he really loved it. I got a room called Big Mama's house.
Yes, you do.
Only museum in the world has one called Big Mama because I knew that I had to tell the legacy of black women and black mamas because
Mm-hmm.
black mamas love black men unconditionally. When the world hated us, Big Mama always loved us.
Yes.
When the world threw us out, Big Mama brought us back home. So Big Mama has always been the foundation of black families. Now think about this. Nowadays, kids don't even go to church.
Nope.
But you see young men dying in the streets and they ain't hollering for Jesus, they hollering for
For
mama.
that. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes,
Because
they are.
generationally, Big Mama's always been here. But now we're not going to church. We just throwing Jesus out the window, but we still know Big Mama love us unconditionally.
Yes, they
They
do.
put enough doubt in their relationship with Jesus, but they ain't put enough doubt in their relationship with Big Mama because Big Mama gonna keep on loving them. You understand me? So that's the things we have to do, man. And like yesterday, I had a group in, and some guy said, "Man, you 65 years old?" No, I said I'm 64. I'm still young. But
Uh-huh.
then he said, "You decided to do this at 60 some years old?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm not worried about people calling me a leader in my community. I want them to call me a lover of my community.
Mm.
And if we have more lovers of our community, it'd be more people like what I'm trying to do. I'll be doing it in their place too. Because we got to save our people, man.
Yes, we do.
We you know that's my responsibility as an elder now. And
Yes.
one day I will be an ancestor. I always say becoming better ancestors. That's one of the mottos I use when I go into schools because I don't want to get tied up. Because white America tie your history up, make it just all about color. And
Yes.
my history is about history and the contributions, regardless of color. So
Mm-hmm.
what I tell them, I said, let's become a better ancestor. So when I say becoming better ancestor in the state of Kentucky, what does that mean? I just want
Mm-hmm.
to become better citizens. So
Mm.
when you invite me to your school and I'm talking about the history of America, I just want us all to be better.
Yes,
So
sir.
when you go back to mom and dad, you say, well, Miss Lamont said we just need to all become better ancestors. Well, what is that redneck gonna say then?
Mm.
What can he say?
He
See,
can't
my
say nothing.
challenge, no, my challenge is, hey, we just all need to become better, and we do.
Yes.
It's responsibility, accountability on our end, on everybody's end. And your dad probably told you about. I got a room back there called "Coming to America." When I put
America.
the chains on, you step into America. You see a statue, 1619, where enslaved person, because we're not slave, enslaved person has a mouthpiece in his mouth. And kids will say, "Why does he have the mouthpiece?" And I say, because in America, when they brought us here, the first thing they did was take our voice away.
Mm.
and,
Mm.
and we're still fighting for a voice in 2023. Think about that. The same thing they first thing they took away was our voice, and we're still fighting for a voice in 2023.
Bro,
So
it's.
that's why Roots resonates with so many people. But
Mm-hmm.
what if I had the dollars? What could I do if I had the dollars other museums had?
Yeah.
Because I'm not afraid to do it. You
Yes.
hear me? Not afraid to do it. I just need us to support us so I don't have to fill my board up with enough corporate people to make me change my agenda.
Mm.
Can't
Like,
stop, won't stop, will not stop. And I need us to support us as we make this happen.
well, you're gonna have my support 100%. We already talking about it. So we're gonna be talking to you offline anyway about some things that we want to collab with you about to get y'all the support because these are the things that's needed. I will be up into, this summertime. I'm coming to see you.
Oh,
I am
please
coming
do.
to see you personally. I am coming to see you, and we are going to uh, talk about this a little bit more. And I'm going to experience what you know what you do. I'm going to experience it. And for
I
me,
appreciate
I like to experience things with no cameras involved. Because at the end of the day, everything don't need to be seen for me, right?
Amen. And I
And
believe in backdoor meetings. I believe in those
yes,
meetings where we close the
yes,
door. You know, it's not, it's not about the press conference. Yeah.
yes.
I tell you one thing, I got a throne, I have two thrones, Nigerian thrones, original thrones, and one throne is for the queen. The queen sit up higher because the Africans held their women in high esteem, so her throne is higher. But
Mhm.
the king's throne is lower. And I sit in it one day and I realize it's lower because he can look men eye to eye and hold them accountable to what he needs them to do.
Mm, mm. Wow, bro. Message today, everyone. Message today. Well, look, I would like to thank you so much for joining me here on the show. I definitely appreciate you for everything that you are doing. I am coming to see you this summertime, and that's for sure. And man, thank you for taking out the time because I know, I got you during dinner time, so I definitely appreciate you taking out this time. Tell the wife I appreciate her for allowing
Well,
you to go ahead and do this interview. Appreciate your daughter and everything else, man. And
well,
hey, I'm coming to see you, and let's talk. Let's talk. I'm going to
let's
drop you
do
my
that.
number. I'm
Please
going to
do.
drop you my telephone number for we could talk.
Yeah.
But
Well, like I said, I appreciate the platform, and and I hate to talk about dollars, but this thing is real,
it is. It is.
it's real. It's real out here, and they're telling our story, and that's the sad thing about it is they're telling our story. Just real quickly, I don't know how much time I got.
Of course.
Right here in Louisville, they just gave a grant of $850,000 to a white organization here to guess what? To help with the slave trails in Kentucky. Now think about
Wow.
this. We're gonna do the underground trails, which the history needs to be told. Don't get me wrong. But every as you walk that trail, ain't a black person on anything on that trail.
Mm.
So so instead of putting dollars in us to look at what white America still owns, give us dollars so we can buy what we should have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about. Equity with museums and equity with the story of white America is that we don't need nothing to look at. We need something to own.
Yes.
And that's where it's got to be at. And we have to do that collectively together, no matter what city we live in. Our mission is to own our story and tell our own narrative because they're coming to tell our story now.
Yes, they
Some
are.
places are not allowing our story, and other places want to control our story. So what are we gonna do?
Yep. I agree with you 100%. I definitely agree with you 100%. Woo, man. Y'all could just imagine. Y'all listen to this conversation. You could just imagine how the museum conversation is. Y'all could just imagine. Breathtaking, knowledge base. And I'm telling y'all, when y'all leave out of there, y'all want to feel something different because I am about to experience that. This summertime, I will be in Kentucky. I will be having a conversation with you, most definitely. So, thank you, thank you for telling our story the right way. Thank you for giving us knowledge. Thank you for allowing us to come into your space and get the real. We appreciate you over here on the OT Radio Show. We definitely appreciate you. We definitely appreciate everything that you are doing for not only the community but for our people
Thank you.
because the stories needs to be told in the right way.
Well, appreciate
And
it. At Roots, I would say our house. So
yes,
everyone's welcome to our house. So that's what it's about. Legacies matter.
yes, sir, yes, sir. Well, go ahead and give everybody the websites and the IGs for everybody can follow you, websites, and
Well,
hey,
you already know I ain't too good on that.
I
It
know.
took my daughter to call you to get me on the website, right? But it's Instagram is Roots 101 AAM, Roots 101 AAM. The web address is www.roots dash like a hyphen 101.org. Is that the phone number at the museum is 502-384-1940, or you can call me on my personal phone 502-210-1279. 502-210-1279. Always approachable, always open. I always say we're more than a museum, and our mission is to be more than a museum. We host events. We have a Sankofa experience where our people actually singing, where I narrate the story. And the reason I did that, white America always allowed us to sing to them, but now I'm trying to entertain them at the same time. So that's the whole blessing of what we're doing, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, man. I'll be calling you. You know, you are getting about, but I'll be calling you, text you, and yeah, I
Cool.
appreciate you, man. I definitely
Well, I
appreciate you.
appreciate
Tell the wife I
you,
thank
young
her
brother.
too. Tell the wife I thank her
Okay.
too. And
Well, I can't, I upset my queen, but she sticks with me all the way we go. You know what I mean? So when what's that old movie? I make a move, you make a
make a movie.
move
Yeah.
like that, something like that. So we move like that. So it's all good. And
Yes, sir.
I'll get home and I eat later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, I appreciate you so much, and much love to you, you and the family, and keep doing what
Thank
you're
you, bro.
doing, man. Thank you.
All right.
I
All
appreciate
right.
you. All right, bro. Take it easy.
All right. Keep planting those shade trees, remember?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will keep playing them sage trees, man. Yes, sir. I'll definitely
All
do
right.
that. Thank you, bro.
Be blessed. All
Be
right,
blessed,
cool.
man. Oh man, y'all, good show, good show, good show. Make sure y'all follow Roots 101 African Museum. Make sure you go ahead and follow on all social media platform. Support, man, because we got to start supporting, investing. Make sure you go to the website, Roots 101 African American Museum. Definitely, y'all. If you in Kentucky, make sure you go check it out. If you're not in Kentucky and you want to go travel to Kentucky, make sure you go check it out. You have to go check it out because it tells the story the right way. All right. Well, listen, man, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And like I always say, if someone asks you how you're doing, you tell them you're doing better than yesterday. Tomorrow, woo, I got another one, y'all. Yes, I will have on Mr. Vincent M. Ward would be joining your boy OT here on the station, 615. Well, listen, y'all, I love y'all. Y'all be good. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. OT Radio Show, that's all up top. Make sure you support, share, like, comment. That's all we ask. Share, like, comment, and support us because we're trying to do something good. All right, thank you for watching. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Same time, same place. Peace.